Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is looking at the astrological chart of Doja Cat, and I'm a little over twice her age. I think she's 26 right now. So I'm definitely not in her generation, and I'm not familiar with a lot of popular music today, but she was one of the people that I found out about, and I've been kind of like checking in every few months to see what else she's put out there. And I can't say that I like everything that she's done, but certain songs I think are cut above what, passes as popular music these days. And I've seen her in interviews, and she seems very intelligent and a little bit different than how she presents herself in videos, which makes sense. She might have a certain persona that she wants to portray when she's doing her music compared to in her real life, if you will. But I wanted to specifically look at the sexual angle because she and Cardi B both are Libras. And I find her and Cardi B to be very crude, in terms of how they express themselves, like very raw sexual terms. And it's not to be like I'm clutching pearls, I'm a prude, or anything like that. It's that when you talk about sex like that, you're really indicating that you think it's nasty, as far as I'm concerned. You're not respecting it. And it kind of like puzzles me because I think Doja Cat would like to have people think that she is this modern woman and that she's very self-empowered because she's very aggressive sexually. But her behavior, or if you want to call it, because I don't know if she's really like this in real life, this may just be part of her character, but this portrayal seems regressive for women rather than progressive. And I'll explain why in a minute, but I want to get to what I think is the root cause for this. And I've noticed this in particular with rap, female rap artists. And I'm trying to think if I would put Miley Cyrus, now obviously she's not a rap artist, in that same category because she has certainly come out as sexual, and we know Britney Spears had her moments too. I mean, her career has also been based on innuendo, but this is taking it to a whole new level. This is about it really is with some of these people like Nicki Minaj, who I also like. I really like, I can't say I sit there and listen to their songs all the time because that's not true. But I do like some of their music, and I like their video and some of their videos. And yet I don't understand why they promote themselves as almost like strippers, like they are trying to be a sex machine and advertise themselves as a sex machine for men. Doja Cat claims to be bisexual, and the reason I say claims is that she had an issue with the gay community. She used a gay slur for gay men, and apparently that didn't go over very well. But she also uses the N-word, which is another thing. I mean, I don't want to open that can of worms, but she does stuff like that, and yet she seems to try to position herself as woke. So I don't know what's up with that, but I just don't understand why these types of women want to promote themselves like that. I mean, I know it sells, sex sells, but it seems that first of all, it's a very bad message to send to the younger girls who are more impressionable in their teen years. Of course, they don't owe that to anybody technically, but when you are in tune with yourself at a higher level, it would seem that you would be very uh, mindful of how you're impacting others, especially vulnerable, impressionable teenage girls. Um, so I wanted to look at Doja Cat's chart and see if I can pinpoint something along these lines. Now, I said that I find it strange that both Cardi B and Doja Cat are Libra sun signs, and yet they're very crude because Libra is supposed to be classy. Now, saying that somebody is classy probably makes me unclassy because the word classy isn't very classy. But you know what I mean. And that's because Libra is, I don't want to say it's a higher octave of Venus compared to Taurus, but Taurus is an earth sign. And so it has earthy qualities. And that includes the body. And just so that crudity is more with the earthbound element compared to air, which soars above the earth. And it's not something, it's intangible. You can't contain it. And so it has a lighter quality. So in a sense, you could say it has a higher vibration. And therefore, a lot of times you'll see that Libra women seem very ethereal. I mean, well, I shouldn't say ethereal, but their beauty is kind of like more ethereal and less of the strictly voluptuous type of raw sexuality. Although I think Kim Kardashian is a Libra, so there you go. There blows my theory. And another thing that is a feature of Libra is intelligence. And actually, Kim Kardashian, I guess she's studying to be a lawyer. So people oftentimes will underestimate Libra women and think that they are airheads, air signs, dumb, or just, like bimbos because they're physically attractive, not realizing how intelligent they are as well. Even Cardi B, I do believe she is intelligent in her own way. She's from the hood, so she talks like somebody from the hood. Doja Cat apparently comes from, I think, a show business family. She's obviously more affluent, so she has a different upbringing. But regardless, Doja Cat tries to appeal to different demographics, and it's not surprising that she talks differently when she's doing an interview compared to when she's doing her videos. And so when I look at her chart, the first thing I notice is that she has both the sun and her rising sign in Libra, and they're close enough in degrees to be a conjunction. So this is really glaringly obvious that she is somebody for whom beauty is a big deal, but also that she has high intelligence. And if she wants to be, and I've seen her, she can be elegant. And that's really what I associate with Libra is elegance, not being coarse, not being rough around the edges and saying like foul things. And by the way, she has Mercury in Libra, so I don't want to get flagged by quoting her directly, but when she was talking about her sexuality, and she was saying, yeah, I like D's, and, talking about male genitalia, and, she was talking about women, but she just says it like that, and it's just kind of, I I'm going to say unladylike, okay? And I'm not a prude. I'm not from the Victorian age. Don't say, okay, boomer. It'll really piss me off because I'm the first year of Generation X, so I'm not even a boomer. But it's just nasty because it really sullies someone's image to do something like that and still be somebody who has a brain in their head and who probably is a lot more of a graceful person than she wants to be seen as. And perhaps she thinks that by being coarse, that she's going to appeal to a certain demographic. And maybe she's 100% correct. But it seems to me that if she's that conniving, I can't think of the word, like scheming to try to appeal to as many people as possible, that is not being authentic. And that is a hallmark of the problem with Libra, is that a lot of times Libra tries to be what they think other people want them to be. And there's sometimes you say, is there anybody in there that's real? Is there a core self that Libra has? Or is it all just trying to garner that approval? Now, I personally think that some of this is coming from a very, I don't want to say a very grasping mentality. Grasping mean materialistic, but you could look at it that way. In the second house of earned income, Doja Cat has Mars and Pluto in conjunction and Jupiter. And this is somebody who is intensely in pursuit of wealth. That's what I would say. It's going to do whatever it takes to get there. And so, like I said, I'm not quite sure that she is bisexual. She may just say that because she thinks it's hip, because she wants to appeal to as many people as possible. And maybe if a woman who is a lesbian is into her, they may be more into her thinking that she's attracted to women. You never know how this all shakes out. And maybe she is attracted to women, but I'm just saying that I'm looking at like what is going on here. Why does she try to, especially with men, because she's not really doing this with women. It doesn't work that way with women, to brag about being a sex machine. So she may be trying to be approved of by men, being accepted by men. And unfortunately, a lot of women, especially younger women, believe that if they are promiscuous, that they're going to find love. And this is obviously a trap because it is a way to get used. And we're not talking about a woman who is has a very high sex drive. Now you could say maybe that's Doja Cat, but the problem is that even in those cases, if somebody is excessive, if they have a sex addiction, and they go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist to try to break themselves of that compulsive behavior, a good psychologist is going to try to trace it back and try to figure out what is the root motivating factor, and you will find that person is actively seeking love. and they're actively seeking deep connection with somebody. And they're going from person to person because they're not finding it. And they're not finding it because they're probably engaging in sexual activity too early in the relationship, and it opens themselves up for being used. So this has to be looked at in terms of, why does anybody overemphasize sex in their life compared to having an emotional connection with somebody? There may be a lack of trust that they have with potential partners, and so they would rather have sex with them than tell them about all of their fears or risk having their heart broken. So I don't just look at these videos and just say, oh, wow, she's a freak or that's crazy. I really wonder, like, what is going through these young women's minds when they're making these videos. So, and when I say like being a stripper, I'm not putting down strippers, but I'm saying that, if you're trying to relate to the opposite sex, why are you doing so in that kind of a crude way, as well as a way almost of being like for hire? You're not having, it's not a sincere relationship. It's somebody putting on an act for somebody else. So that creates that superficial aspect of it. Doja Cat has her sun in the 12th house. Her sun is a late degree of Libra, by the way, 27 degrees, and her rising sign, that forms a conjunction with that sun, is at 29 degrees. So it is on the cusp of Scorpio. And this behavior is very scorpionic. She's got Venus in Scorpio in the first house. Not close to the ascendant, though. But that's another sign of being a people pleaser when you have Venus in the first house. But having Venus rising means that her ruler is Venus. I mean, did I say Venus rising? Having Libra rising means that her ruler is Venus. And yet, it's on the cusp with Scorpio. And that desire for control or power can be very front and center here. And so that's a big reason why some women choose to emphasize themselves as the femme fatale, because they want that power over men. Now, sometimes that power over men has come from abuse by men, namely, usually sexual abuse, but it can also be physical abuse other than sexual abuse. I don't see anything in this chart to suggest that. Like, usually I would look at the 8th house, maybe a hard angle between Mars and Pluto, although she has the conjunction, and maybe we could read that as a challenging aspect too. But that doesn't mean, just because it doesn't show in the chart, doesn't mean it hasn't happened. It just may not be something that is the most important takeaway from her particular life, that there are other things. And that's why I want to look at that 12th house, because she has a stellium here. She has the sun here. Although, like I said, the sun is in conjunction with the ascendant. So it is a little bit more out in the open, therefore. It has more of that, almost like that first house energy, although it isn't in the first house. And Freddie Mercury, I believe, had his sun in the 12th house. So for sure, just because you have your sun in the 12th house doesn't mean that you are shy. However, I remember when Doja Cat first kind of really became a big deal, and she went on, I think it was an award show, but she did some live performances back to back, maybe some talk show or something like that. And I was reading comments, and someone said, "Oh, she was so nervous and all this," and because she had to perform live. So I don't know if she has said that she has stage fright, but in any case, if you ever sun you in the 12th house, you may really like to work behind the scenes and might be very in love with solitude versus being out in the public eye. And I noticed that after she did those live performances, she taped videos that were live performances, but she did them to her current songs. Like I think she did "Say So" and "Juicy." I think because it was right when she had hits with those, and it was her way of being able to do something live, but still having that control over it. So anyway, the reason I say that is that when you have the sun in the 12th house, you may be a little bit nervous about putting yourself out there. But she has Chiron here, and this can lend itself to somebody who feels guilty for no reason. There's like this irrational quality to the person in terms of guilt. And this has a karmic nature, I would say, because the 12th house is the karmic area of life, and it can indicate unfinished business that's coming through. So maybe there's some pain from another lifetime that has not been healed. And so the person is still kind of suffering guilt from it, but they don't know exactly what it is. I'm trying to see like if any of this would affect her behavior. She has Mercury here. I don't think that specifically would have anything to do with it. Although she does have Neptune in the third house, which is Mercury's house. So she's got this, I don't know if this is considered mutual reception, but it's kind of like that. And so I wonder if she always had, if she ever had anything like learning disabilities. I mean, she comes across as highly intelligent. And yet, that has, learning disabilities has nothing to do with that. Dyslexia has nothing to do with that. But I'll tell you, it really can affect self-esteem. And if people don't really heal that, in the 12th house, they can be feeling guilty about things and not knowing why. And I can't say, because I don't have any plants in my chart in the 12th house, I can't say how that would feel to always feel guilty and not know why. But I'm sure it's not very pleasant. And she has a North Node here, so there is that sense of a higher purpose to help maybe humanity in some way. But doing that with one's art is certainly acceptable. Her sun is also squaring Neptune. So not only isn't it the 12th house, which is Neptune's domain, but it's squaring Neptune. So my theory sometimes, and I see this when I'm doing personal readings, where a woman has either or of these, like the sun in the 12th, Neptune hard angle to sun, hard angle to Neptune, is that the person is searching for a sense of themselves. And maybe if the sun is in Pisces, they won't be doing that because they don't really care. And they're willing to sacrifice that need to be able to serve others. But for those people who, for whatever reason, really feel the need to define themselves, it can be very difficult. And I think sometimes women use the men in their life to define themselves. And what that does is it elevates that other person, like they are holding all the power, they're holding all the answers, and the woman is shrinking, feels less and less significant. So it can be a vicious circle. And that's why I say I think it's very easy to use one's sexuality as a way to just like have a man be very attracted to them, and then they can define themselves through that man while they're in the relationship, and they don't have to answer to anyone. They can be who they are, but they're not really in tune with themselves. They're looking for that other person to define them. And that's where it gets problematic. In that 12th house, her North Node is in Libra. And I just wanted to see what, I'm sorry, North Node is in Libra, but I'm talking about Chiron in Libra. And I wanted to see what they would say about that in terms of, with Chiron in Libra, what the themes would be. And I didn't even click on this particular site. I'm just looking at the heading. And I'll just read. It's from a website called teaandrosemary.com. I guess it's an astrology site. I don't know why it's called that. But the kind of the teaser paragraph says, Chiron in Libra, the wound of relationship. Chiron in Libra means that you feel like there is something missing from your life. Usually this something is your soulmate. The Chiron in Libra wound might feel like a hole inside you. You might spend time trying to fill it with things from the outside world. And so I think that I'm hitting upon the crux of this. And this is in the 12th house, mind you. So that's going to even enhance this idea of the soulmate, because the 12th house is a house of past lives. So you have the North Node here, which can be, your soul's mission. It's in Libra, which is a sign of the couple. And then you have Chiron here. So basically, this is another part of the theory that I have, is that sometimes people who claim like, oh, I just love sex and I'm sex positive and I'm having all these, I'm promiscuous, it's fine. I'm not saying she's promiscuous. I don't know what her habits are that way, but she's certainly acts like it in videos, like that she just has sex and it doesn't have to mean anything. And the reason that some people may engage in this behavior is because they don't have their soulmate yet. So they don't feel that sense of emotional connection or spiritual connection. And maybe they, that's why I'm saying, they erroneously think that if they sleep with all these people, that they're going to find the right one, or that it's like that's how they're going to have to, or maybe that they can fill the void through doing that. Because Venus in Scorpio is quite possessive, is quite suspicious of their partner. There could be trust issues with a person who has Venus in Scorpio. And her moon is in Virgo, and Virgo is very earthy, even though it's characterized as chaste. That might be on the outside, but there may be, there's that that's saying I don't know where it says something like a lady outside and a whore in the bedroom or something like that. I I can't remember. I don't like the word whore. I mean, I just don't. But I was just trying to remember how that phrase goes. But like the person who looks very pristine outside and they're a freak in the bedroom, behind closed doors, in other words. So, anywho, in the 11th house, she has the moon. The moon is connected to women. In the 11th house, this can be the position of a woman who has a lot of female friends. Now, this is very significant because Libra is a masculine sign, believe it or not. And so the air signs and the fire signs are masculine signs. I'm a sun in Sagittarius, and I always wanted to be friends with men more than women. I didn't trust women, females, in my growing up years, even, going into adulthood. I was more interested in being friends with men. And so that's why it's very interesting that she has the moon here, because she may have a lot of female friends. But what I can't help but think about this position, just from observation and reflection of other people that may have had this, at least one person I can think of, is the idea of commiserating with women about men. Like that is the bonding. The 11th house is a house of friendships. So you have these friendships with women, and I think that this does happen more times than we would like to think, where women, and this can be especially as they get older, that they feel alienated from men, and they bond with women over talking about their negative experiences with men. And what that does is it reinforces the idea that men are the enemy, that they're no good, and also that they are doomed to not being able to have a relationship with a man. So they have these female relationships, and it's almost like a support group in a sense, but there's a negative angle to it where they are kind of doing some negative bonding. And I'm not saying that this has to be the case for everybody, every woman who has the moon in the 11th house, but I just wanted to put it out there that it can be it can also be almost like a spiritual thing where you connect, I'm saying you, but where she connects to women intuitively, and it has a healing effect. So maybe it's not manifesting that way. But I do feel that when women present themselves to men as these sex objects, and they're the ones who are doing it, that they almost have contempt for men, that they act like men are so base that they have no interest in a woman other than to have sex with her. So why would a woman characterize herself in that way and present herself that way? The other thing I wanted to mention is that in the 5th house, Doja Cat has Saturn. The 5th house is the house of creativity. So Saturn here can be making a living, because Saturn rules the 10th house of career, through art, creativity. This is also the house of love, and so Saturn here can make for somebody who is very serious about these matters. So if a person has Saturn in the fifth house, they may take relationships to heart more than other people do. Because Saturn wants something substantial, and it's not looking for something frivolous in life. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I just wanted to kind of, explore that just a little bit more. And I could be like 100% wrong. I'm not saying that I'm right, but I'd be interested in hearing anyone's opinions on this situation, this subject matter. Thanks for listening. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.